All right, it's Tuesday's Tales, the great epic battle. Who will win, dogs or cats? Who knows who will win? I'm going to turn on the light. That's better. Now, tonight it was cats versus dogs, and this was a dog book. It's called Floaty. It's actually very cute. And our cat book was Cat Knit, which I thought was funny and sounded like Katniss. Now, as all of you may recall, I love cats. I love dogs too. Dogs are very huggable and squishy. It's kind of like the never-ending extrovert-introvert thing. It's like cats are definitely more introverted and dogs are not. And you see that in example. Like, I love pets that you can hug and squish and squeeze. And you can hug and squish and squeeze Pumpkin. But eventually she wants you to put her down. Say, yes, I like pets. And I'll sit with you and appreciate you. And then I want you to put me down. So I'm going to do that. And then she's going to flick me in the head with her tail. It'll stank. But you want to know who won. And it was pretty neck and neck. And my sister admittedly tried to stuff the ballot box. But, Alexa, stop. And what will win? The cat book. Tonight's winner is cats. Isn't that great, Pumpkin? She's indifferent. Most cats are, but that's okay. This book is funny. And it's a fairly new book. I hadn't heard of it until I went to the library and I was looking around for some new books to read, and I saw it sitting on the shelf, on the little part where they put the new books. And I was like, it has a cat on it. This cat's not feeling it, and I gotta see what this is. Thank you, Pumpkin. All right, this book is called Cat Knit. And hey, Amanda. Hey, Libby. And I know that all cats, if you have a cat, you know that cats always have a favorite thing. Like with George, it's whatnot is his favorite thing. And Pumpkin, her favorite thing is this little toy fish that it sounds like it has tin foil on the inside. It kind of makes a little snippy snip noise. She also likes to sit on like plastic bags. I don't know why, but she's doing it right now. She's sitting on this plastic bag on the floor. She has toys, but she sits on a plastic bag. It's like when you give a kid a brand new present and then they sit on the paper. All right, but here we go. Cat Knit by Jacob Grant. All right. Cat and girl had always been good friends. One day, girl brought home a colorful new guest. His name was Yarn. Cat was fascinated by Yarn. He'd never had a friend so bright and rolly. The two of them were inseparable. Aww. Pumpkin likes to sit in bags too. Especially when I go on trips. She likes to sit in my suitcase and act like she's going to be a stowaway. But there's a problem. But girl also wanted to play with Yarn. Cat waited and waited. He wasn't sure what girl was up to, but he didn't like it. It's like, what's girl making with Yarn? What do you think it is? Be a scarf? Maybe a hat? When Yarn returned, He wasn't his usual bouncy self. Yarn's a sweater. Cat's friend had changed. Oh, Lord, if I put a sweater on Pumpkin, I'm pretty sure I'd die. Cat did not like this new yarn one bit. He was itchy and stuffy and no fun at all. Cat was so mad, he hardly noticed the cold snow. Ooh, that is judgment to the max right there. Ooh. He had to get away from this new yarn. Soon, Cat realized just how cold it was. Warming up to something new takes time. Ooh, that just got deep. Yarn may have changed, but they would always be friends. Then, one day, Girl brought home a group of colorful guests. Oh! Look. Oh no, look, little gloves and little shoes and a hat. Ooh, that is some stank eye from that cat. Whew, the end. Ooh, that was a lot of... I'm getting some cat judgment right down here in the floor. Pumpkin's just glaring at me like, you better not put gloves and hats and stuff on me. Nope. All right. Well, Floaty. It's a very funny book, too. We might have to save that for another time, but yay, cats! All right. Our Bible story for today is from the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and 15, titled God Makes a Way. And for my Bible Quest kids, they know this story best as the parting of the Red Sea. So, to catch you up, for those of you who might need some catching up, God told Moses to tell the Pharaoh of Egypt to let his people go. And, well, God's people were working for the Pharaoh for free. They were slaves, and they treated them badly, and so he didn't want to let them go. But he finally did, and then he changed his mind. And so now the Egyptians are chasing after all of the Israelites. So here we go. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way, and he would show them. I will bring you to a new home, a special land, God promised them. I will look after you. I am with you. God sent a big cloud for them to follow, a pillar of smoke, stretching up to the sky. It moved in front of them as they walked, and shaded them from the blazing heat of the day. And when it was time to rest, it stopped. All through the cold desert nights, it kept them warm, glowing like fire. Cool. All right. God led his people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when, suddenly, they heard a terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded almost like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and screamed. It was! Pharaoh and his army were coming to get them. Pharaoh had changed his mind again. Get my slaves back! He screeched and charged out into the desert after them, with 600 of his fastest horsemen and every single chariot in Egypt. Oh dear. It's not looking good. Oh no. But it's okay. Spoiler. All right. What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big there was no way around it. But there was no way through it. It was too deep. They didn't have any boats, so they couldn't sail across, and they couldn't swim across because it was too far and they would drown. And they couldn't turn back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords now, glinting in the baking sun, and the dust clouds, and the chariot after scary chariots surging towards them. So they did the only thing there was left to do. Panic! We're going to die! They shrieked. Don't be afraid, Moses said. But there's nothing we can do, they screamed. God knows you can't do anything, Moses said. God will do it for you. Trust him and watch. But there's no way out, they cried. God will make a way, Moses said. Another minute and it would have been over. But then the strangest thing happened. God made the pillar of smoke move. It moved behind his people and hid them from the Egyptians. Then God sent a strong east wind to blow all night long. It blew on the water of the big sea. It blew to the left and it blew into the right until it blew it into two towering walls of water, and there, right through the middle of the sea, a muddy pathway opened up. And God's people walked across on dry land. I always tell my kids, I could imagine that would look like an aquarium on both sides. Like you just kind of be walking and be like, oh cool, look, there's a shark, or there's a fish. That would have been super cool to see. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of water crashed back down on them and swallowed them up. God's people were safe. They danced and laughed and sang and thanked God when there had been no way out. God had made a way. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way when there was no way. From the beginning, God's children had been running from him and hiding. God knew his children could never be happy without him, but they couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost, and they didn't know the way back. But God knew the way, and one day he would show them. The end. Love that story. It's always a great story. All right, so since I had so many people voting for dog, but they didn't quite win, did you? But I'm going to bring it back because Floaty is a very funny little book. Very cute. So your choices for next week are Floaty or Curious George at the baseball game. Very sad that baseball's canceled this year. Not that I watch a lot of baseball, but you know, when it's on and have people, and like it's one of those sports that I actually do kind of understand. I was the kid that had to sit with somebody and always ask me like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Like people do at the movies, but I did it with sports. Baseball was one of those sports I actually understood. So these are our choices for next week. You can look for my Instagram post or my Facebook post next week and vote there, or you can vote in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you next week. Yay. Goodbye.